writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, I'm going to give you my 5 waiver wire ads for Week 5 of the fantasy football season. Hopefully, you had a lot of success in Week 4 and won all of your fantasy games. But here are some players to consider adding to your lineups for this week, Week 5 of the fantasy football season. My first one, this will be the top pickup in all leagues this week, is Damien Williams, running back for the Chicago Bears. David Montgomery has a knee injury. We don't yet know the severity just yet, but it sounds like he's likely to miss at least a few weeks of action. This leaves Williams as the starter in an offense that provides a lot of carries for the running backs, and Williams can do just fine in that role, as he showed last week. He had 8 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown. He also caught 2 passes for 15 yards, and he's available in 69% of leagues. I think he's a must-add in those 69% of leagues that don't have him on their rosters right now. So go get Williams if you're looking for a running back this week. My next waiver wire ad is Jets receiver Jamison Crowder. So he made his season debut last week, produced very well in the game. He had 7 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. He also had 9 targets, so he was looked at a lot by Zach Wilson, who seems to have a knack for looking at the slot receiver in this offense. So that's great news for Crowder because he should man that role. And he is available in 85% of leagues, so he's out there in a lot of them. I think Crowder's a good ad, and he could get a lot of volume going forward. My next waiver wire ad is San Francisco 49ers quarterback Trey Lance. So Jimmy Garoppolo's hurt once again, has a calf injury, could miss some time with this injury. This leaves Lance as the starter. I think he could be a little erratic in a starting role, but he certainly has a high weekly ceiling because of his rushing ability. He showed that last week. He played just a half last week, had 22 fantasy points. So the high ceiling is definitely there for Lance, and I think his floor is pretty high as well because of his ability to run the ball. I think he's a good-looking young quarterback for fantasy teams, and if you're looking for a streaming play in the next few weeks, Lance is worth a shot. My next waiver wire adds another rookie, Giants receiver Cadarius Toney. Toney didn't make his debut last week, but he got the most work of his career last week, led the team in targets, caught 6 passes for 78 yards on 9 targets. He's a very talented rookie. I know the Giants were banged up at receiver last week, which is why Toney got to play more, but they used a very high pick on him, and they want him involved in this offense. He's a playmaker, showed his potential in that Week 4 game. I think he could be a factor the rest of the way. He's a good speculative ad for fantasy teams, especially if you consider the Giants' offense is looking a lot better than they have in recent years. My last waiver wire ad for Week 5 is Washington quarterback Taylor Heinicke. Heinicke has produced really well since taking over as a starter for Washington. He has multiple touchdowns, 3 straight games, at least 24 fantasy points, all 3 of those games as well. He had a season-high 30.8 fantasy points last week. He just keeps getting it done on a weekly basis as a starter for Washington. They have a very good offense, a lot of weapons on that side of the ball. I think Heinicke's a good play, another good streaming quarterback if you're looking for one on your fantasy team. Those are my 5 waiver wire ads for Week 5 of the fantasy football season. Good luck navigating that waiver wire this week. Hopefully you get all the players you want on all your rosters. This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day.